And that's all there is to it to growing your YouTube channel. So go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth tactics and strategy guides just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love. Okay, 3 content videos down, 6 hours later, let's start the vlog. Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant and YouTube. Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant and consultant. Cut. Hey everyone, wrapping up the first 6 hours of the workday with nothing but content. Luckily, I was able to get all 3 videos done, so the content for next week is set, which means I get to focus on client work and of course, building out our processes for the rest of this week. But first, before I get into all that and the whole new burnout schedule, I'm gonna decompress and go for a swim. Whew, nothing like a swim to get the blood flowing again. Oh, I feel like I can go a whole nother work day. Okay, not really. That was actually pretty tiring. So let's take a shower and then hit the desk again. Now, in case you missed the last vlog, I'm actually rolling back my work hours right now because I realized that I was on the precipice of burnout. And so I needed to roll back my content plan and curtail my work hours so that I wouldn't actually hit burnout. And part of kind of relieving the stress and trying to re-energize myself is, of course, incorporating working out again, which is something that I all but left out of my schedule because I was trying to cram as much as I could. You know, when you work 12 or 14-hour days, there's not really all that much time to hit the gym or the pool. So it's nice to be able to just go for a swim in the late afternoon. And so now that I've finished the chunk of my day, which is 6 hours, I'm gonna go head over to the balcony and just spend an hour or two looking at the projects that I'm not going to be able to work on, and then ask the entrepreneur question that we always need to ask, but somehow I always forget, and that is, can someone else do this, right? Because I think it's really hard as just going from a solopreneur to an entrepreneur where you have to constantly remember that you're not supposed to do everything. And even if you don't have the budget to outsource it yet or delegate it yet, at least know which projects you're working on that if you did have the budget or resources, you could delegate or outsource, or decide that you're just gonna take a haircut on whatever you're making so that you can hire someone else to do it. So that's essentially what I'm going to do now, and just work up a quick framework for a couple of those projects that I want to work on. And I'm sharing this with you because I want to show that when you're burned out or you're on the precipice of burning out, it doesn't mean you get to take a week off and just Netflix and chill, right? Like, you still do need to do work. You still need to take some steps forward, even if they're slow, agonizing. As long as you keep some form of momentum, you're actually going to be able to recover. Because something I found out the hard way is when I've had times where I've had to completely take a break because I was actually physically sick or something, like I had a cold or a flu, I wound up coming back to work less energized than when I do kind of an even, slow pace. And I think that's simply just kind of being an entrepreneur. The lack of momentum, even if you're only going 1 mile an hour, is so much better than 0 miles an hour. So I hope you find that encouraging. Time for me to figure out how to delegate some of these tasks so I can legitimately stay on my goal of just working 8 hours a day for the next month. Just finished my process outline, so now it's time to show you what I got. And what I have, I think, is pretty freaking cool, even though it's not necessarily the most sexy topic when it comes to growing an online business. Process development, yippee! But it's really one of the most important things that I've implemented in my business to go from solopreneur to entrepreneur. And that's simply figuring out, how do I take what's on my plate and put it elsewhere? And so now, after essentially 2.5 years of trying to do that, now I'm trying to take it a step further and say, okay, how do I take an idea that I have in my head and outline what I'm looking for so that I can hand it to somebody else and then they can actually go create the process. So if you want to learn more about why systems are so great, there's a book I recommend called Work the System by Sam Carpenter. I read it, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was just an absolute game changer. And it was a validation for me that coming up with standardized processes and being so detail-oriented really is important. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in. How I spent the last 2 hours. So here we have our project outline development framework, and essentially I'm trying to come up with a template that I can use over and over again when I have an idea and I want to work with someone on the team in order to essentially implement that idea and test it out and figure out how we're going to succeed. So in this particular example, this is for Pinterest. So we do a lot of playlists on the channel, and essentially what I want to do is every time a playlist is made, I want a bunch of new pins made for SEO purposes and essentially promotion purposes. So in the very first step, we start off with development objectives, which is what I will fill out. Then we have a process outline, which is what whoever on the team will fill out. Then we'll go through and test whatever we've decided to do. We'll make sure it works. We have the proper software, our steps, and we have everything worked, all the kinks worked out. And then finally, implementation would be actually adding it to whatever our current process is. So in this particular instance, you've probably seen this diagram before, but I'm all the way down in optimization and playlists. And this is just kind of our giant overarching framework for creating content. And then every time we have a new process, we just kind of plug it in wherever it's supposed to go in that process. How many times am I going to say process in this video? Way too many, so I'll try and stop. So anyway, the first thing is just coming up with an objective. Like, what are we trying to achieve with this new process? I just did it with this new project, with this new project or reoccurring task in our business. There we go, reoccurring task. And in this particular instance, it's have an automated way of every time a playlist is made, there's automatically tasks set up so that Pinterest pins and a new board is created. And so we give it a new project code. You don't necessarily have to do project codes, but every single project that we have that occurs more than once has a project code. And then deliverables is looking at, okay, we know what we want, we've named what the task is going to be, and now what is the end result of whatever we're putting together. And so in this particular instance, it's a Pinterest image, it's captions, it's hashtags. Now, luckily, that process is already complete, which is why I've checked them off. But the process that we need to put together now is take all that information and say, okay, so when we create a playlist, what do we need to do in order to have a Pinterest board that's a reflection of that playlist automatically created? And when I say automatically, I mean someone on the team knows that they should do that. I don't have to physically go, hey, there's a playlist and you should go make this, right? It should just happen automatically. That's that's how it should work, right? And then going down related content and tasks. So I've linked up everything that's kind of related or I think training that would be helpful in coming up with how we should go about doing this. And then, of course, I have a key performance indicator. This isn't super important, but I think whenever you're putting together a project or a task, you need to have a clear understanding. And when I say not super important, I mean in terms of content creation, because this is such a small piece. But essentially on a larger picture, you always want to know, why are we doing this? Like how do we know whether or not this is being successful? And I think it's really easy. Like if you've ever worked a 9 to 5, you know, there's a lot of busy work and you're going, why are we doing this? There's no actual benefit to the company other than me justifying sitting here and doing this. And so we want to make sure that there is no busy work and everything that we're doing is actually contributing to growing some aspect of the business. So in this particular instance, the KPI is just number of posts. Because we're new to Pinterest, in the future, we'll have a KPI of how many shares, likes, or backlink or clicks we get back to the YouTube videos. But for now, all we can do is focus on how much content we put out. And so if you've watched any of my content videos, you know the big KPI for our entire content machine is how many things we publish. That's pretty much it. And then I just link up some resources that has been helpful to me in terms of conceptualizing what I'm trying to do. And the other section that I haven't gone through yet that I will add to this document is just examples. So if I can find in this particular instance, if I could find an example of a YouTube channel that's actually doing this, or a Pinterest Pinterest account, or a Pinterest account that I really like the pins and the style or design, then I would go ahead and link that up here. It's pretty much like building a swipe file. So if we were doing this for a sales funnel, then we'd probably link up a couple sales funnels that we think are relevant to whatever we're trying to put together. And then of course, I'd give all of this to whoever is ultimately going to be responsible for creating the pins and writing the captions, doing the hashtag research, all that fun stuff. And then they'll go do their own research and fill out all the information here. And so essentially what we want to do is we want to know, okay, so how are we actually going to do it? And then what information do we need to be successful? What tools do we need? How long do we think it's going to take? All that fun stuff. Obviously, this part number 2 is blank because I've never done this before. So I don't really know what questions to ask, but I'll work with someone on the team and then we'll go ahead and test it. So I know that this, again, this isn't sexy, this isn't fancy, but this is what entrepreneurship looks like. This is what content production looks like. This is what marketing looks like. It's figuring out what are the deliverables, what do we need to do in order to bring in new customers, and then just breaking it down step by step by step. Just think of it like the silly, what is that? Peanut butter and jelly sandwich exercise. Have you ever done that? Where you're supposed to do how to buy, I gave it away, how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Well, depending upon how detailed you want to be, you can start by saying, okay, walk downstairs, get in your car, drive to the grocery store, or you could start by assuming that the peanut butter and jelly is already right there in front of them. And cut. Sorry about that. Started to ramble, saying so every other word. Now, I sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. I know it doesn't seem super fun, but really standardizing your processes so you can focus on the one thing that's really important to your business, let other people do the other work in your business is how you're ultimately going to scale and grow and avoid burnout. So you won't be stuck like me having to take a bunch of time off and recover. So thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. I'm gonna assume you're already subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Vlogs like 2 or 3 times a week, as much as I can handle. And until the next video, keep building the business you love.